Cho?
Here.
Commissioner Fang?
Here.
Commissioner Lindsay?
Here.
Commissioner Oji?
Here.
Commissioner Rios is not here. Commissioner Trenkel?
Here.
And Chair Ashwa.
Yeah. And I will go ahead and read the land acknowledgement. So, the City of Albany recognizes that we occupy the land originally protected by the Confederated Villages of Lijan. We acknowledge the genocide that took place on these lands and must make strides to repay the moral debt that is owed to this indigenous people, specifically the Ohlone tribe. We thank them for their contributions, which have transformed our community and will continue to bring forth growth and unity. The City of Albany commits to sustaining ongoing relationships with the tribe and together build a better future for all that now make this their home. Okay, so moving to approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
The July 5th, 2023 minutes have been approved.
Okay, Commissioner Cho?
Yes.
Commissioner Fang?
Yes.
Commissioner Lindsay?
Yes.
Commissioner Oji?
Yes.
Commissioner Trenkel?
Yes.
And Chair Ashwa.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Moving on to public comment. Is there any public comment at this time?
No one in the virtual world.
And we can move on to announcements.
No staff announcement.
Go ahead, Member Lindsay.
So on September 16th, there's going to be a Celebración Latina with music, food, face painting, and prizes and stuff, 2:30 to 6:30. I believe it's at AMS. That's where it was last year anyway. And then, and that's to celebrate, or to begin to celebrate the Hispanic Heritage Month, which is September 15th to October 15th. And then I saw a notice that the Arts Committee and the Community Center are doing a social justice art project of some sort. Do you know more about this, Anne?
I know there display at the community center, I
Oh, is it?
believe, but I don't know more details about it.
Okay. So anyway, we can encourage people to go there if they're interested in social justice and art, you know. At the community center, I'm not sure what the dates are. That's kind of as much as I know, but there's a couple of good things happening there. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Member Lindsay. And also you said that it's going to take place at AMS. Do you want to, what's AMS?
Oh, sorry, Albany Middle School.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So moving on to presentations.
There are none.
Can I take the time to just open a question? Because I did reach out to the Lijan tribe, and I haven't heard back, but I reached out to their sort of alias email address and was wondering if anybody had any direct contacts that I could reach out to for a presentation from them.
I can check.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I know somebody, the person who's, so if that doesn't work, then I can try. So why don't you keep me in the loop there? Let me know. I know somebody who's been talking to them.
Great, thank you. I mean, if you know somebody, you can just reach out to them, because
Okay.
I never heard back, so I'm not sure I am going to hear back from the email address that I sent the message to.
Okay. Contact info for Lijan Tribe. All right, so I've got it on my to-do list.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then item 6, so discussion and possible action on matters related to the work plan.
So this will be, the chair, you, since you presented at the council meeting, so you can report back to the commission.
Sounds good. Okay, so on Tuesday night, I went to the city council meeting and presented the work plan, and they approved the work plan unanimously, and seemed very pleased with what we had come up with. So at this point, how is the formation of ad hoc subcommittees handled as it relates to once a work plan has been approved? How are we expected to move forward in terms of creating subcommittees?
Well, I mean, yeah, we have a lot of flexibility, but you can have no more than 3 people. We're a 7-member body, so you can have no more than 3 people on any subcommittee because of the Brown Act. A majority would violate the Brown Act. So if we could pick, I see, there are a couple possible ways we could do it. One is we could pick 2 of these to focus on first, and then there could be 3 people on each subcommittee. You typically agree on a convener. Somebody's going to contact the other people and pull together a meeting. Then they work on their own, and then they come back when they want to report back or want to actually make a specific proposal that's written up in the form that the city council wants. Then this body right here has the right to amend that and then send it to council. And that's kind of what our job is. That's our main job, is to make recommendations to council. You form the subcommittees with a convener. The subcommittees meet. They come and they report back. The next 1 or 2, however long it takes them. And the only thing I'm kind of concerned about is sometimes people have good ideas, but they don't know how to write up the proposal. So I'm not quite sure, Ann, how to deal with that exactly. I guess if I was on one subcommittee and Commissioner Rios was on another one, we both know how to write it up. That might be one way to do it. But we could do two subcommittees. The problem is that that's 6 people and somebody wouldn't be on a subcommittee. Does that make sense? Yeah. If we did only 2. Maybe there's somebody who's happy just kind of, is okay with that. Or we could do 3 subcommittees, and that would require 9 people. I mean, if we filled them up completely. And then 2 people would be on 2 subcommittees,
That sounds good. I guess to start, I would want to get a poll of which specific work plan items are people looking at and interested in, and just start from there and see what subcommittees can be built around that.
So I wonder if everybody could think privately. If you could be on one subcommittee, which one of these would they be? And so that we could just see people's number 1 choice. Is that okay? And then let's see if we can do that. Or do you have something else in mind?
Maybe just 1 and 2, so
Okay.
that we can kind of get a sense of
Okay.
what would be the most popular and the second most popular.
So if we review these, the first one is about the citywide racial equity survey. So that's in process in the city. So this is to assist in that process for the city council, and work with, I guess, what other staff people and the contractors that I think they already selected a contractor unless that's changed. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the first one, is the racial equity survey. The second one is the housing element. Remember the big housing plan, everybody? And we've been told we're supposed to work on, the social justice part of that, on housing equity. The third one, nobody needs to be on a subcommittee for. the sugar sweetened beverage tax is a measure that passed a few years ago. And the council just asks us and I think 3 other bodies, if I remember correctly, for recommendations on how that money should be spent. And we just do that in a meeting. We don't usually do that in a subcommittee. It'll be an agenda item in a meeting at some point. The 4th one is the city's equity statement. So the racial equity impact plan that we have, that's one of their recommendations, that the city have an equity statement. Commissioner Rios was already working on that last year. So I think it would be really smart for her to be on that subcommittee. And then
So just as it relates to the city equity statement, something that comes to mind, especially since we have, I guess 3 out of 6 of us are high schoolers.
Yeah.
It might be a useful project to participate in, just as it relates to having some kind of writing sample that you can say, I participated in this, I did this. It's something that you can actually tangibly turn into someone and say, like, I worked on this. So that might be useful, just as you think about which options to choose.
Then underneath that one, the second to last bullet point, the second to last work plan item is the idea is to have a citywide racial equity office and a paid full-time staffer in that position working on equity issues within the city. That would be big, really, really big for the city in terms of equity, because right now there's no staffer that really has time to focus on that. And the last one is, I think, was your proposal?
Yeah.
For a read-along program for community members. So, and if we're going to focus on 2 or 3 of these, that would be the idea. So now, what do you want to direct people to do?
Just look through the list and choose whichever ones spark joy, and that's what we would go by. And then we can just go down the line and say which ones we wanted to work on. And we can just say, like, number 1, number 2, so you don't have to read out the whole thing.
So we number these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6?
Yes.
But I don't think anybody should pick number 3, because we just do that in a meeting, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
But just for the purposes,
Okay.
it's going to be number 3.
So we're going to give people a minute?
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to say that in past years, whoever goes last can, or later in the process, can sort of feel like there's no space left for them in some group that they wanted to be in. And I would encourage everybody to just say your number 1 and number 2 and don't pay any attention to what other people said, and we'll figure it out. We want to know what you want, and then we'll sort out how to make it work.
I have a question for the city racial equity office and/or staff officer. Who would they work with directly, like city council,
Well, no, all staff reports to the city manager directly or indirectly.
Okay.
And they don't report directly to the city council, but it might be under somebody else's department. So they might report directly to the city manager, or they might report to somebody else that reports to the city manager.
Okay,
Does that answer the question?
it does. I'm just wondering how beneficial it would be. It'd be beneficial ideally, but I'm like, practically, is something going to be accomplished if we hire someone?
So there have been definitely cases is this appropriate to discuss?
I was just going to say that usually for these items, you guys will work
We just pick it.
doing your research and stuff like that. If you need certain questions answered, you can refer those questions to me, and I can find the right department or right staff to answer those questions. So you don't work directly with staff on your work plan items?
Okay.
Makes sense?
Yeah, there are ways that you could see an equity officer going wrong. That certainly happened in other cities, like if they get no support and nobody pays any attention to them, for example. And so I think probably part of the putting together a proposal is to propose some sort of rules or policies or approaches so that it does work, you know. Yeah.
So yeah, usually for any of the item, you want to be able to research and come up with pros and con analysis and, you know, financial impact or what the impact is in terms of either sustainability or social equity impact, that type of thing. When you guys are almost ready, there will be a sort of a template that's given to you guys that will outline, okay, here are the template of like a report to council. So it would show like, here is the background information, here's our recommendation, here's an analysis that includes pros and cons, here are, you know, other sections like financial impact or financial consideration. So you just kind of follow that template and then do your research. Or if you find other information that's outside of the template, you can definitely add that on too.
Thank you.
Oh, another thing that I forgot was that we often pick one to work on together at a group in meetings when we have time. Sometimes meetings, you have no time at all, but sometimes, you know, you have half an hour or an hour to work on something. And so a lot of times we can pick one of these that we'll work on when we get a chance in a meeting. Like we might have time today because it's, right, you know, although it's not on the agenda. So, you know.
Has everybody had a chance to pick? Okay, cool. Should we start from this side? And then Cho. Okay, Member Cho.
So I know we already, I know we agreed upon choosing 2, but I'd be open to doing 2, 4, and 6. So it's an issue.
Are those in order?
No, they're not in
They're
particular.
all equal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Member Faye?
My top choice would be number 6, the read-along program, and second choice would be number 2, the housing element.
Member Lindsay?
I ranked them all because, you know, I'm weird like that. So my rankings are 1, 5, 6, 2, and then 4.
Oh, OG.
Member OG?
I picked number 6 and number 2, and the priority is number 6.
Thank you. And Member Tranquil?
I chose 4 and 6.
And I chose 2 and 6. So I think across the board, 6 is in the top, and 2. Yeah. So 6 and 2. Great. So
we have 3 people that chose 6 and 2. I don't know if Member Lindsay have a smart way of arranging it. He's usually really good at
4
that.
people chose 6.
We have Fang, OG, and Ashwan choosing 6 and 2. Then we also have Tranquil
2, 3, 4, right?
ranked second rank for 6. And
Right.
Cho and Lindsay ranked 6 as number 3.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, I would really recommend that people just focus on one thing, because you try to do two and you just end up doing nothing. You know, it's too much. It's actually a fair chunk of work to put together a policy proposal and write it up. And two people put number 6 as their first choice. And so,
I have 3.
well, as their first choice?
Yeah.
I thought
Fang,
Kenya
Oji.
said 2, 6, but,
My first choice is 6, and my second choice is 2.
oh, my bad. Okay. So it could be that maybe those 3 people do number 6, right? The reading program one. Then those 3 people would get their first choice, which would be sweet, right? That would be Ife, Jeanette, and Akinye. So is everybody cool with that?
I mean, okay, so I guess the question is that if it's only 3 people to a sub, what is it called? An ad hoc.
Subcommittee commonly.
Okay, ad hoc or subcommittee, then is it, would the work only be limited to that group of people?
Which what?
Would the work only be limited to that group of people?
Yes, if it's not during a public meeting. But if you work on it during this public meeting, all of you guys can participate. But if you're meeting separately, it's limited to those 3 people. You can't communicate outside of that, those 3 people, because otherwise it has to be a notice Brown Act meeting, because it's more than a quorum. Even if it's like, say the 3 of you work together, oh, let me tell somebody else that we are working on this, that's a no-no.
Okay, I guess with that in mind, my my thought process is that we have, you know, at least 7 people on the commission, and it makes sense to, if only 3 people can work on it outside of meeting. We don't currently have a line item to be able to then go in and discuss item 6. We'd have to wait for the next meeting. So it makes sense that we would have, that we could just break up into 2 groups so that we're at least working on 2 different items in tandem.
You mean in the meeting, or you mean after the meeting? Outside of
After
the
the
meeting?
meeting, because we don't have that itemized for today, so we can't really take time and say, oh, we're going to talk about this as a group.
Right. I mean, that's my read also, right? I mean, we can't go into the details of these because it's not agendized. Yes, so,
So my thing is that my call is that, okay, so we have 6, 3 people have shouted out 6 as their top choice. And then just figuring out what that second choice would be and who would want to be on that.
right.
So that's my call.
Elizabeth, Commissioner Rios is not here tonight, but I'm going to propose, we could always change it next meeting if we need to, but I'm going to propose that, we sort of put down number 4 for her, and that would imply that that's also what Charlotte had, and that's also what Aaron had. And so there could be Aaron and Charlotte and Elizabeth are working on the number 4, which is the equity statement.
Does that mean that everybody is kind of covered in terms of like a space to?
It would mean that I'm not on a subcommittee, but that is hardly the end of the world. And we'll have something to work on in, we can pick one of these items that we always put on the agenda so that we can discuss it if we have time in a meeting and just work on something together in the meeting. That could be a third item. But I'm fine. We would have to form a third committee, and then 2 people would have to be, well, at least one other person would need to be on that for it to be a real subcommittee.
Yeah, I guess mainly because you brought this up and you have a lot of context as it relates to item number 1. Is it possible to just have one person on a committee, right? In terms of the participate in the forthcoming citywide racial equity study process, and is that something that been done in the past or you'd feel comfortable with doing? Because
I-
you're the only one who put number 1, but you're the only one without a committee.
Right. Do you have advice on this one? A subcommittee of one?
If that's, that works for you guys. I mean, it doesn't have to, it just cannot be more than 3 people.
Right. So if somebody
1,
else
2, 3.
becomes interested, they could join me, but I like that suggestion. So I could be the survey subcommittee with maybe somebody joining me later if they want to be on 2 committees, which is an iffy sort of proposition. But then I think we're maybe ready to make a motion, which would be that Ife, Jeanette, and Akinyi be the subcommittee for the read-along program, and that Aaron, this is item 4, the equity statement, that Elizabeth Rios, Aaron, and Charlotte be the subcommittee for the city equity statement. And that member Lindsay be the subcommittee for the citywide racial equity survey. So I'll make that as a motion if everybody's cool with that? Okay, so moved?
So we're not, no one is going to work on number 2 and 5, is that correct?
Not currently, no.
2 or
Wait, no,
5,
no,
we
no,
could pick one
no.
of those to work together in a meeting, but.
Hold on, not 2. So nobody's going to work on 3.
Well, 3 is just an annual item that's usually in spring.
Yeah, but 2 is one of the ones that we've created a subcommittee for, or we're trying to
No.
move that motion.
No, we didn't do that
Not
one.
2?
No, it's a 4 and 6. So number 6 is the read-along program, that's Ife, Jeanette, Akinyi. And that's number 6. And number 4 is the city equity statement, which is Rios, Aaron, and Charlotte.
Okay, got it.
So it would be 4, 6, and 1 that we would have subcommittees for. Number 3 is an annual thing. We could pick 2 or 5 as a thing to work on together as a group.
That would be great. I think number 2.
Number 2? Yeah, that seems pretty popular, actually.
Yeah, that was my point. I just want to make sure that nobody's getting stepped on in this process, because based on what I've recorded, 2 was the second most popular one.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was confused with what you mentioned, Anne, because I thought that we were doing 2.
Member Lindsay's motion was just for 4 and 6, so that's why I was clarifying.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. So I guess my thought is that, is it 2 that's more favored, or is it 4? And for the folks who chose 2, do you feel, any which way as it relates to doing item number 2 or item number 4?
Let me also add, we don't have to have all the subcommittee picked tonight. You can pick 2, 3 tonight, and then next meeting, maybe you guys think about it, are you ready to take on more than one item? Then you can decide if you want to, say, I'm interested in working on another item, and then you can pick the subcommittee for 2 and 5 and add people to 1 at the next meeting. It doesn't have to be all done this meeting.
Yeah, 100%.
Although I would like to get it done because it's kind of all we have on the agenda, and it would allow people to
Yes.
do work this month. Right, if they're not on a subcommittee, it's hard to.
Well, no, but you guys are already on one right now.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you don't have to have the second one
Oh, you mean the number 2?
for number 2 or number 5.
What I noticed is that number 2 was 4 people had it as their number 2, but nobody had it as their number 1. I mean, Erin sort of did.
Sure did.
Well, she had 3 things as her number 1. She had 2, 4, and 6. They were all equal, she said. So that's what happened, is people got their first choice, right? And then the number 2 was nobody's absolute first choice anyway. But I why don't we take that one as the one to work on as a group, because it was on almost everybody's list, except Charlotte. And I had it number 4, mind you, but, you know, so maybe, I don't know if that counts, but I think that we could do, if people are interested, I think we could do number 2 as the one to work on together as a group.
I've also had a previous subcommittee that everybody, they work on their own, they find their own research, and then they bring their individual research back to the public meeting and share it at the public meeting. And if you guys have research result, like by the time, before I post the agenda, if you have your research results done, you send it to me and I post it on with the agenda, and that's shared with everyone here and the member of the public, and then that's what you guys discuss. So for something, a big item like number 2, that's one way you can do it too.
Got it. Okay.
It doesn't have to be a small subcommittee, you know?
I like that.
Yeah, same. And actually, as it relates to using that method, because with the with item number 3, I thought that would also be a good candidate to do something like that, where it's if we all just go and research what the possible uses we can recommend for item number 3, then we can just bring it in and talk about it in meeting, and then not have to do a whole breakout committee for that one. Okay.
That sounds like a good plan. So then this would mean that then number 6, the read-along program would be, I'm sorry, I tend to go better with first names than last names, but Ife, Jeanette, and Akinyi. Item 4, the city equity statement, would be Rios and Aaron and Charlotte. Item 1, the racial equity survey, would be just me for now. And then item 2, we would do together in meetings.
2 and 3.
2, well, no, we don't need to, 3 just happens. It'll be on an agenda March
In the
or
spring.
something, you
In
know.
the spring.
Okay. So, I mean, is there any value to being able to just doing the same thing that we're doing for number 2 to then bring it back and just have the conversation?
Yes, so,
That's what I mean.
but it won't, I mean, of course you can do your research now, but usually for all the other commission that are submitting input or feedback or comment for that sugar sweetened beverage tax, it is usually done like February, March, because it gets, and then our assistant city manager will gather all the commission and committee's recommendation and then put it together and present it to council.
Yeah, and so I guess.
So it doesn't have to happen now, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so my point is that can we just have that to be slated to be put on an agenda that happens right before that needs to be
Right.
submitted?
Of course.
So that's my thing, is that number 2 and number 3 are treated the same, so they're both going to be like homework items. But then, I mean, we don't have to do that right now. I just want to make sure that we have like everything parceled out.
And then for clarity, number 5, we would pick up when we when we finish one of these items. Finishing it means that it's all written up, it's brought back to the commission votes for it, and then it gets sent to the city council. And they like somebody on that subcommittee to go there and be there, you know, when it's coming up. But then that group or whatever, somebody could start picking up number 5, right?
Oh, I was going to say, if we can also have like 2 people on one subcommittee, right?
Yep.
So if like, I'd be happy to move to 1 if like 2 people is better.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So there would be a 2-person subcommittee for number 4, provide a draft recommendation for a city equity statement. Rios
You want
and,
to do both? Are you saying you want to do both or just one or the other?
I just move, because
Oh, okay,
like
got
2
it, got it,
people,
got it, okay.
2 people works, right?
that's a good point. And I'd be happy to have somebody else on the subcommittee.
Okay.
What's your number again? 6 and 1 or?
No, just 1 now.
Just 1, okay.
So are we
Okay.
ready for a motion?
Yeah, do you want to,
Sure.
does anybody
And
want
what-
to?
In what, okay, so maybe just, maybe I'll go through the 6 items in that order? Or how do you want this formatted?
We already know which ones we want, so we could just do those, right?
Yes, okay. So, work plan item one, bullet point, the first bullet point, the citywide racial equity survey would be Commissioners Jim and Charlotte. Tell me when. Are you good? Okay. Item 2, the city housing element, we'll have on every agenda. Item 3, and we'll just work on it together with people doing their own research. Item 3 is going to be at an agendized meeting in probably February or March. Item 4, city equity statement is Rios, Elizabeth Rios and Aaron. Item 5, we're just waiting right now. There's no subcommittee for that. And item 6, the read-along program is Ife, Jeanette, and Akinya.
Do I have a second for that motion?
Second it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cho,
Yes.
Commissioner Fang,
Yes.
Commissioner Lindsay,
Yes?
Commissioner Oji,
Yes.
Commissioner Tranquil,
Yes.
Chair Ajwan.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Now, we actually need to pick conveners. Who's going to coordinate the subcommittee? Call the other people up or text them or email them or whatever, get a Zoom meeting together or Google Meet or whatever, however.
So for item number 1, Charlotte, sorry, I'm calling you Lindsay as your first name.
Yeah, it is a first name, right?
Or Jim. Okay, so who would like to take that role?
You want to give it a go or you want me to do it?
I think you probably know more, so,
I know more, but I think it might be good practice for you to be a convener,
okay,
right?
yeah.
Awesome, thank you. And then for number 4, I think that since Member Rios isn't here, can we just table that for now? Or Erin just reaches out to Member Rios and,
Yeah, that would be best.
Yeah, I could reach out to her if
Okay.
someone can give me her contact information.
Once this is decided, I will be emailing everyone their group, the email address of the people in their group.
Okay, sounds
you.
good.
And then if you want to text, then you can get their number, the first time
Right.
you meet or something.
Right.
Yeah.
okay. And then item 6, whoever would like to be the, what is it called again?
Convener typically.
Convener, okay. So whoever would like to be the
Or
convener.
coordinator,
It's an easier term.
yeah.
I'll do it.
Yep, great, thank you. Okay. So, is there any other comment or suggestions about work plan items and on the ad hoc subcommittees at this time? Okay, great. So, moving on to future agenda items. So, if you'd like to request a future agenda item, this is your chance.
I thought, we have a couple minutes. I thought maybe people could think of groups that they would like to present. And one that I wanted to propose is a group called Hip Hop for the People. I went to one of their events in Oakland, and the guy that runs it is pretty terrific, and we could see if he could come and do a presentation.
So you would take you would be able to coordinate that, or? Okay,
yeah.
Great, awesome. Hip hop. Okay, great. Any other requests for future agenda items?
I have a suggestion. So recently, the Instagram account, I don't know if you guys know about that Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
But that's been like an issue at our school too. And I'm pretty sure the author is visiting our school sometime in January. And I heard it was a citywide thing happening at Albany High School at the Little Theater. So I was thinking it'd be great if we could encourage people to participate in that. Just think it'd be a fun event. to Participate in.
When are they coming?
I'm not sure of the exact date, but it's sometime in January. Pretty sure.
Because I'm interested. I've read the New York Times article and like done all things, but as it relates to the person who wrote the book, do we have information about them? I don't know what their name is or like what the context is, like their attachment to the incident.
Right. So I'm actually not quite sure about that either, but
I can answer.
okay, yeah.
So this author wrote the 57 bus, which, have you guys heard of that?
Yes.
That incident that happened in Oakland. So she is a Jewish woman who lives in the Bay Area. So she writes like bibliographies type. So she interviews people. So she interviewed our principal, who was once a teacher at Albany High School. And so she kind of deals with like racial inequalities and stuff like in the Bay Area. So that's why she's able to come to our school.
Okay. And so as it relates to so the book that's coming, it's not the book, because at one point in one of these meetings, I remember somebody mentioned that someone had written a book about the incident.
Yeah,
so
she wrote a book.
so this is the,
Yeah.
Okay, got it. It's been connected. Okay.
So are you proposing that we have that person come to this meeting for a presentation?
No, I'm suggesting that if there's a way that we can encourage people to go to that event, then I think that'd be great. I really don't know how that would work. That's a thing that our committee
It could be a part of
handles.
like the read along program or like read an excerpt from her book.
That's true. That's a really good point. Usually the only things we can do, we don't have any staff or any money. Like we have 0 staff that works for us and we have 0 money. So we can't like send a postcard out to everybody. We just can't do that. All we can do is we can advise council and we can invite people to come to meetings, right? And that's a way we sort of promote groups, like we had the parent engagement groups from the schools all came, right? And it sort of elevates whoever's here because it's, there's a YouTube video and other stuff. There are people that watch these we could send a proposal. It's not really agendized though, and it's not part of our work plan, so it's a little
Right.
awkward. But if we could fit it into somehow fit it into this work plan. I just don't see how. But you can do things like you can contact your council member, we can, things like that, and ask them to promote it in the city. Something like that.
Okay, that makes sense. I think Eve had a great point about incorporating the event with the read-along program, so
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something that we also coordinate, but if it's part of that work agenda item, then that'd be possible, or?
I mean, I'm down for the idea. It sounds great. Yeah. And since, we are on that. We can work on it. Did you have anything that you wanted to add to that? Okay, great. So, any other requests for future agenda items?
I have a question. So is the item number 2, is it automatically added to our agenda items, or do we have to request it?
We'll check to see if the agenda has room or has space. Like, for example, if we have presentation and you guys are coming back with other research results, then that agenda is kind of full. So then we would put it on, we can definitely put it on every single agenda, but doesn't mean that we can get to it. If you guys like, I can include it as part of every agenda and then get to it if there's time. That way, it's not the problem of, oh, it's not on the agenda, so we can't talk about it.
That'd be great.
But it also makes sense if we know it's already a full agenda, I wouldn't include it just for the sake of not having something on there that we don't ever discuss. Right?
Yeah, there are times you look at an agenda and go, oh my goodness, it's going to be tough to get through this agenda. And in that point, if you put it on the agenda, some person in the public might actually attend the meeting because they're interested in that item, and it's not true. We know we're not going to get to it. So in that case, it's not really kosher. If we know we're not going to get to it, we shouldn't put it there. But otherwise, I love the idea of putting it on each one, and then if we have time, then we're allowed to talk about it, or we're allowed to work on it together.
And I can also just check in right before it's posted, right?
Right.
And so I think that's the best way to go, because I mean, as you've mentioned, we don't want to have it on if we're not going to actually get
I
covered.
mean, when we coordinate the agenda,
Yeah,
can,
yeah. That sounds good. Okay.
and I just have, because you guys asked about the Creative Justice Project, I'm told that the Arts Committee is in the process of showing their recommendation to the public with the display held at Community Center lobby to get feedback from the community member. They are up from July 28th and will be on display until September 28th. And that's the public comment period.
So it's like right now, people can go to the community center, take a look at the proposal and make comments on it?
I'm assuming so. I haven't been to the community, I haven't gone to the community center to see the displays, but that's what I'm told.
It would be really nice if we had sort of a RISE calendar for, social equity and racial inclusivity stuff that's happening, because we've now got already 3 things there. The Hispanic Heritage Month, the Celebración, which could be a 4th, the Social Justice Art Project, and the January meeting already. And so for people who have interest on this, it would be nice if we could have a calendar or something. I don't know.
Would we be able to post it somewhere, like on the
We
website?
we can certainly, we can unofficially suggest that staff consider that.
Okay.
That's about the best we could do, because it's not an agenda item, we can't really discuss it. But under announcements or future agenda items, you can often put wish list stuff or announcements or whatever.
You can announce, just like you did earlier, you announced for the event to share with all the members here and members of the public who are listening or joining in the meeting,
Yeah.
so that they know about it.
Any other requests for future agenda items? Okay, so the next meeting is going to be October 3rd, 2023. And I guess this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Quickest meeting ever. Well, I guess the quicker ones are the ones where we don't have